Okay, so I need you to sit with me for a second on this one because Manchester United just did something that genuinely surprised me. Not a signing, not a bid. Something quieter than that, but honestly, maybe more significant than half the transfer rumours we've been talking about all summer. United have made direct contact with Marcus Rashford's camp. Direct contact, in the last 24 hours, according to Fabrizio Romano. And the message they sent him wasn't good luck finding a new club. It was come back to Carrington. Let that sink in for a second, because 18 months ago, this would have felt impossible. Rashford hasn't played for United since December 2024. That Nottingham Forest game, the one where it all just seemed to be over between him and the club. Amorim froze him out. He went to Barcelona on loan. And most of us, if we're honest, thought that chapter was closed for good. We thought whatever happened next, it wouldn't involve United shirts again. But here we are. Barcelona had a £26 million option to sign him permanently. They didn't take it. Instead, they went and got Anthony Gordon from Newcastle, which, by the way, tells you a lot about how Barcelona actually rated Rashford's loan spell versus how excited they got about Gordon's price and profile. And once that option lapsed, the door swung back open, whether United wanted it to or not, because he's still their player. Contract runs to 2028. He's not just some free agent floating around, he's under contract, on a big wage, and now the club has to actually decide what to do with him. And what Romano is saying is that United's answer, at least for now, is welcome him back. Let him be part of Michael Carrick's pre-season. See what happens from there. Now here's where it gets interesting because I don't think this is United suddenly falling back in love with Rashford emotionally. I think this is football logic, plain and simple. Carrick is not Amorim. He's not Ten Hag. The relationship there is completely different. They were actually teammates for a couple of years. And from what's being reported, Carrick has been in regular contact with Rashford, sounding out the senior players in the dressing room about how a return might land. That's not a manager who's being forced into something. That's a manager who's actually curious. And you know what? I get it. Say what you want about Rashford's off-field years, his form dips, the criticism, all of it. The guy has just spent a whole season playing under Hansi Flick, helping Barcelona win La Liga. And right now, at the World Cup, he's not just making up the numbers for England. He scored against Croatia in the group stage. He's looked lively down the left. This is not a player who's lost it. This is a player who's been reminded on the biggest stage in football what he's actually capable of when he's wanted and trusted. So picture this from Carrick's side. You've got a forward under contract, who's fit, who's in form, who scored at a World Cup a few weeks ago, and the alternative is going out and spending 60, 70, 80 million pounds on a left winger you're not even sure is better than what you've already got sitting on the books. Nicky Butt actually put this really well recently. He basically said, look, Rashford's on a big wage, no club is stepping up with the money United want for him. So realistically, he might be forced back for pre-season anyway. And Carrick, being Carrick, isn't the kind of manager who's going to just freeze a player out and waste that wage sitting in the stands. If you're paying someone that much money, Butt said, you can't just not use him. That's the practical reality underneath all the emotion of this story. Now, I want to be really clear here because this is not United waving a white flag and saying Rashford's staying forever. Romano was very specific about this. United are open to welcoming him back to training. Rashford is open to walking back in the door. But there's no guarantee, none at all, that this ends with him still being a United player come September. Eventual bids will still be considered. There's a release clause sitting in that contract. If a club comes calling with the right number, United aren't going to block that. This is described as an important step to rebuild trust, not a reunion tour. And when you think about who might come calling, it's actually a pretty interesting list. Tottenham have been mentioned, although Romano says that particular story isn't advancing right now. There's been noise about Saudi interest too, clubs like Al Hilal circling. And Barcelona themselves apparently haven't fully closed the door on bringing him back on loan again. But here's the thing, United have already ruled that out. No third loan. If Barcelona want him, and honestly if any club wants him, it's a permanent conversation or nothing. United aren't interested in being anyone's development squad for a player they're paying a Premier League wage to. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a genuinely open situation. Rashford training with Carrick's squad from next month, available for selection, potentially playing a role in United's Champions League return this season, which by the way is going to be Carrick's first full season in permanent charge, so there's extra weight on getting these decisions right. And depending on how far England go in this World Cup, his return to Carrington could be delayed into deep August. Which is a wild sentence to say out loud, Marcus Rashford's United future being partly dictated by how England perform in a World Cup semi-final. But that's actually where we are. Now let's talk about why this matters so much for United's transfer strategy, because this isn't happening in isolation. This is happening at the exact moment United are trying to figure out their left-hand side of the pitch. Because remember, United have genuinely been exploring options out wide. Crysencio Somerville from West Ham has emerged as a serious left-wing target, someone who impressed at this World Cup for the Netherlands even though they went out to Morocco. Morgan Rogers at Villa is another name, although Villa are demanding a huge fee and don't want to sell. Iliman Ndiaye has been mentioned too. But here's the honest question United now have to sit down and ask themselves. If Rashford comes back into the building, fit, sharp, motivated, and genuinely a better player right now than he was 2 years ago, do you really need to spend £80–90 million on a new left winger this summer? Because that's real money. And as we're about to get into, United have already discovered this summer just how brutal the market has become for that kind of spend. So let's shift gears, because while all of this Rashford stuff has been unfolding, United have taken a genuinely painful hit on another front. Matheus Fernandes. This one stings a bit, not going to lie. For most of this year, Fernandes was basically United's #1 midfield target, right alongside Elliot Anderson. Everyone at the club knew Casemiro's deal was expiring. Everyone knew a midfield rebuild was coming. And Fernandes, at 21, coming off a really strong individual season at West Ham, even in relegation, looked exactly like the kind of raw, high-upside profile United wanted to build around. Michael Carrick himself was reportedly a fan, but United lost him. Tottenham have agreed a club record deal, £85 million, guaranteed, and David Ornstein was blunt about it on this one, saying the numbers went well beyond where United were willing to go. Romano confirmed it too, an agreement in place at that £85 million fixed fee, West Ham getting the valuation they'd always been asking for, and United, in Romano's words, now turning their attention to different targets in midfield. And look, this is the second big miss in a matter of weeks. Before Fernandes, it was Elliot Anderson, who United also pulled out of chasing once Manchester City came in with a British record fee, £116 million, later reported as high as 130. United just weren't willing to match that. And now Fernandes has gone the same way, this time to a direct Premier League rival in Tottenham, who by the way have been absolutely relentless this summer. Robertson, Senesi, Dubravka on freeze, Van Hecke for £52 million, and now an £85 million club record on top of that. So here's the question I keep coming back to. Is United's restraint here smart business, or is it going to leave them short again? Because on one hand, I actually respect it. There's a version of this summer where United just chase the same targets as everyone else, get dragged into bidding wars they can't realistically win against clubs with deeper pockets or more attractive projects right now, and end up either overpaying anyway or losing out and having wasted months of negotiating energy, refusing to be bullied on price, saying no to Anderson at 116 million, no to Fernandes at 85. That shows some financial discipline that honestly hasn't always been associated with this club in recent years. But on the other hand, and I think this is the uncomfortable part, United now find themselves back at square one in central midfield, and the clock is ticking. Because remember, Casemiro's gone. His contract's expired. Kobbie Mainoo is genuinely the only senior option built for that deep pivot role right now, with Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes clearly more suited further forward. Ederson is coming in from Atalanta. That deal's basically done, somewhere in the 35 to 39 million range depending which report you read, but he alone isn't the answer to a rebuild this size. And to make things even more urgent, Manuel Ugarte has picked up a serious knee injury with Uruguay, which rules out any transfer involving him this summer entirely. FIFA's insurance will cover his wages while he's out, which softens the financial blow a little, but it also means United can't lean on selling him to help fund incomings, at least not until he's back, which realistically looks like next year given his contract runs to 2029. So you've got a midfield that's thinner than United would like, a World Cup calendar keeping several of their targets busy and unavailable to negotiate, and now 2 of their top choices gone to direct rivals. That's a lot of pressure landing on whoever comes next. And that's where Alex Scott's name has really started to take off. Bournemouth's midfielder, someone Ben Jacobs has reported United are now exploring seriously as the direct alternative to Fernandes. The interesting part here is the numbers. Bournemouth are telling clubs it'll take 80 million or more before they'll even consider it, and they're reportedly trying to tie him down to a new contract past 2028 rather than sell at all. United, meanwhile, are said to be considering an opening approach closer to 60 million. So there's already a gap there before negotiations have even properly begun, and knowing how this summer has gone for United so far, I don't love their track record in these standoffs. But Scott's not the only name being floated. Aurelien Tchouameni's future at Real Madrid has come up as a genuinely interesting one, given reports suggest Madrid might actually be open to letting him leave, which if true would be a completely different calibre of signing to Scott or Fernandes, someone with real Champions League pedigree already. Felix Nmecha has been mentioned as keen on a Premier League move. Carlos Baleba at Brighton and Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace are both still floating around as options too, although Wharton's gone strangely quiet as a name over the last week or so, which is always worth watching, because in this window, silence sometimes means a deal's either dead or being done quietly. Here's what I find genuinely fascinating about all this, though, when you step back and look at the whole picture, rather than each story in isolation. United are dealing with two completely different kinds of pressure at the exact same time. On the attacking side, with Rashford's situation shifting, they might actually be about to save themselves a significant chunk of money that would have gone toward a new left winger. But in central midfield, that same discipline, that same refusal to overpay, has now cost them two of their top choices and left them scrambling for alternatives, with clubs like Bournemouth holding all the leverage. It's almost like United are playing two different versions of the same game, patient and calculated in one area, forced into a corner in the other. And I think that tension, that contrast, tells you a lot about where this club actually is right now under Carrick. They're trying to build something sustainable, something that doesn't repeat the reckless spending of the past. But sustainable rebuilds take time, and Champions League football doesn't wait around for you to get your midfield sorted at your own pace. I'm Bella, by the way. If you're new here, this is what we do on this channel. We go through every twist of the United transfer window and actually talk about what it means, not just report the headline and move on. If that's your kind of thing, stick around, hit subscribe, because this window's only getting messier from here. So where does this leave Carrick heading into pre-season? He might have Marcus Rashford walking back through the Carrington doors in the next few weeks, a player rediscovering his best form on the biggest stage in the sport. He's got Ederson arriving to start rebuilding the base of that midfield, but he's also got a genuine hole where his marquee midfield addition was supposed to be, an Ugarte situation that's removed a funding option for months, if not longer, and a market that has shown this summer it will punish any club that hesitates for even a moment. And honestly, that's what makes this such a fascinating window to follow. It's not one clean story. It's not United signing their Dream 11 and everyone's happy. It's messy. It's United losing out on their top target, then their second top target, while simultaneously maybe getting an unexpected gift in the form of a player they thought they'd already lost for good. Football doesn't usually hand you a script that clean, but somehow this summer it kind of has. So here's what I want to know from you. If you're sitting in Carrick's chair right now, what's the priority? Do you push everything into finally landing that marquee midfielder, whether that's fighting for Tchouaméni or going all in on Scott even at Bournemouth's price? Or do you actually trust that Rashford, back in the building, back in form, back wanting to prove something, can be enough of an answer out wide that you can put that money into midfield depth instead? Because I don't think there's an obviously right answer here. I think this is exactly the kind of decision that decides whether this rebuild actually works or whether we're back here in January talking about the same problems all over again. Drop what you do down below. I genuinely want to know, and I'll see you in the next one.